This video is to help us calculate our fuel expenses, and so the question we're going to ask is, what are my annual fuel expenses for driving to and from work? And of course, this applies to any kind of calculation for the cost for driving a vehicle with a known mileage, and the gas cost has to be known. So the first question we need to know is, what's your distance to work? And I'm just going to use my distance. My distance to work is 6 miles. The car mileage that I gets about 16 miles per gallon. The gas cost in Yakima, the cost is about $2.70 per gallon right now. And the number of days a person works, well, let's say that's about 250 days a year. So first of all, we're going to take basically our miles, how many miles we have to travel to and from work, and we want our answer to come out in dollars in the end. How much is it going to cost? So we're going to have 6 miles, but 6 miles is just one way. I'm going to write that. That was just one way. It's how far is it to work? 6 miles. So every day that you work, you're going to drive 12 miles per day, right? Or I'm going to drive 12 miles in a day if I drive to and from work. So 12 miles in one day. My car gets 16 miles per gallon. Now, I'm going to want to get rid of miles, so I'm going to want miles in the denominator of this other fraction. So 16 miles per gallon can be thought of in two ways, actually. 16 miles out of 1 gallon, right? 16 miles travels on 1 gallon. But also, 1 gallon can take you 16 miles. So we are going to put the 16 miles down in the denominator, so it will reduce with the miles in the numerator there. And that'll give us gallons then in the numerator. So that, of course, gets rid of miles. Now, we don't want gallons, we want to find out what our expenses are, so it's $2.70 per gallon. So if we do our $2.70 per gallon, we can write that as $2.70 over 1 gallon, and now we're getting rid of gallons, right? This basically is going to, all those units are going to drop out. When we do the calculation here, we'll get dollars in the numerator and days, so that would be dollars per day if we stopped and calculated that. We could go on and we want dollars per year, right? What are my annual fuel expenses? That's dollars per year. So to get dollars per year, instead of dollars per day, which is what I would have now, I want 250 days over 1 year. That way our days will reduce and we'll get dollars in the numerator and years in the denominator. So basically we're going to multiply the 12, the 1, the 270, and the 250. So 12 times 1, which I don't really need to write the 1, of course, times 270 times 250. Now that's $2.70, so that's the decimal there. And I don't have to put the 0 in the end there. And then 1 times 16 times 1 times 1, well, the denominator is just going to be 16, and the units left there are going to be years. You can see dollars and years. Those are the only units left. We would have gotten dollars per day if we would have stopped right there, or dollars per trip, round trip. So let's go ahead and do that calculation pretty simply. Um, 12 times 2.7 times 250. If you drive to and from work 250 times, that's 8,100. That would be $8,100 in 16 years. So let's divide that by the 16, and that's $506.25 a year. If, of course, I drove back and forth to work 250 times for 250 days. So that would be our total expenses, my total expenses for the year.